Hi everyone! Today I'm going to review the brilliant, magnificent, fantastic, holy, Jesus-like and... what is better than Jesus-like? Oh, I know! Pope-like X-Men Origins Wolverine. And Captain Logan's review of the film. X-Men Origins Wolverine is an outstanding masterpiece and the best film of the X-Men films. And I think Captain Logan severely underrated, and I think it's severely underrated in general, because where X-Men The Last Stand was regarded as mediocre, this one was regarded by many people as plain horrible, and I thought it was fantastic. And I think Captain Logan is really wrong in his review, but his points are objective, and I do think they are really deep, and I greatly respect his opinion. Oh, by the way, as you can see, I'm currently not in my house. I'm hiding. No, not from the lefties. Surprisingly. I did something that caused even the birds to want to kill me. I praised X-Men The Last Stand. I know this looks like the same place, but actually, it is a replica. Yes. Oh, hold on a moment. No, I'm completely safe here. Nobody can get me here. Nobody can even find me here. Nobody can even find me here. Nobody. 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 Nobody can even find me here. Nobody can even find me here. Nobody can even find me here. First, let's look a bit at the film's production. The project was started in 2004 after the successful release of X2 by writer David Benioff, who mixed many different X-Men sources to form a narrative. Hugh Jackman was willing to return and became a co-producer and collaborated on the script and was allowed to improvise, and he really had complex ideas for the film, making it more of a character piece compared to the previous films. Meanwhile, development on X-Men Origins Magneto was becoming unsure, and they started development on the continuation of the main series with an X-Men 4. And development was further continued on another different prequel spin-off film focusing on the older X-Men when young, which would become X-Men First Class. And Skip Woods was hired to rewrite the film, making it darker and more brutal, and even planning an R rating, although he realized the film's final tone lied with the producers and director. David Ayer also added to the script, and David Benioff eventually created the shooting draft, and then a late-minute rewrite was performed by James Vanderbilt from Zodiac, a fantastic writer, if we put aside Basic. And Scott Silver added as well. And Bryan Singer, previous director of X-Men and X2, and Brad Ratner, previous director of X-Men The Last Stand, expressed interest for returning to the project, and there was also interest from Alexandra Aja and Len Wiseman, and Zack Snyder was asked. But he refused because he was working on Watchmen, and eventually Gavin Hood was chosen to direct, and Richard Donner, executive producer of the first film, returned as executive producer for this film. And as I mentioned, he's a great filmmaker, because he did Superman, co-directed Superman 2, directed and co-produced Lethal Weapon, and you can do it. You don't need to repeat it. It's unnecessary. There's no logical reason, and when there's no logical reason to do something, you don't do it. I decide what I want to do, and I logically don't want to do, so I don't have to. Nothing is forcing me. So he was a great filmmaker, but he does have to pay for being pro-choice. But I will arrange for my followers to do that. Oh yes, I have those. People easily follow an extreme cause. Just look at Hitler. But with mine, you have economic freedom. And that is true capitalism. Yes. And Lethal Weapon free, and... okay. And Lawrence Schuler Donner also came back as producer. And she of course works together very well with Richard Donner, and of course we also had Avi Arad coming back, and he produced all the big Marvel franchise films like Blade, Iron Man and Spider-Man, and he also did the first 3 X-Men films, so this would ensure continuity and also great production and writing quality. And the film got a very high $150 million budget, and Fox argued with Gavin Hood over his direction, for example, not liking Wolverine having post-traumatic stress disorder, and considered 2 replacements, but Richard Donner, who was really powerful, eased the tension and protected the director's vision, thereby ensuring he could have a rich, ambitious vision and as well a really great form of direction, and the studio would medal with the project. They created over 1,000 special visual effects shots and used a lot of CGI and matte paintings. Oh, and can you hold on a moment? Come on, I want something great, I want something... God damn it. I quit beer. I've regained my senses. I'm eating happy, healthy now. Meanwhile, okay, I'm sure my OCD's taking over. Well, I'm virtually summing up numbers. You should check out. You should check out the article on Wikipedia, why Catholics are great and justified in killing Protestants. It has great humor. Meanwhile, Superman Returns had come out later in 2006, grossing $391,081,192 on a $209 million budget, and got very positive critical reviews, getting 76% on Rotten Tomatoes and 6.4 on IMDb, and got great audience reactions, getting 67% on Rotten Tomatoes audience ratings, and very positive fan reactions, a flop with very positive reputation, but it had no cultural impact, and although it failed to revive the Superman franchise, it did further reconfirm superhero films could be successful. And then in 2007, Spider-Man 3 grossed $891,871,626 on a $258 million budget, and got mixed to positive reviews with 63% of Rotten Tomatoes and 6.3 on IMDb, but mixed audience reactions, getting 54% on Rotten Tomatoes audience ratings, and mixed to positive reviews from fans, and a mixed to positive reputation and no cultural impact. And it did further show superhero prequels could be immensely successful, although often being considered a part of the curse of the prequel though. And then in 2008, Iron Man came out and grossed $585,174,222 on a $140 million budget, and got Universal critical acclaim with 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and 7.9 on IMDb, and Universal audience acclaim with 91% on Rotten Tomatoes audience ratings, and Universal fan claim a wonderful reputation and immense cultural impact, and further energized the superhero genre, making it even more in its peak. And then later in 2008, The Dark Knight came out, grossing, and no, it's not overrated! Seriously though, I don't want to get into that debate. Don't post comments about it. No, wait, I don't block people though. But you know what I can do? And so The Dark Knight came out, grossing $1,921,825 on an $85 million budget, becoming the highest grossing superhero film of all time, at the time at least, and got Universal critical acclaim with 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and 8.9 on IMDb, and Universal audience acclaim with 96% on Rotten Tomatoes audience ratings. And it also got Universal fan acclaim, a universally great reputation, and immense universal cultural impact, completely making the superhero genre greatly prosperous. All of this made the market tough but really safe for X-Men Origins Wolverine, although there was still some risk involved, as there hadn't yet been any successful superhero 4 film, and all 4 superhero films had crashed and died horribly, so that was overall a fantastic production. Now let's look at the Holy Jesus and God and Holy Ghost-like X-Men Origins Wolverine film itself. Oh, and don't forget the Mary and Pope-like. You know, as both are holy according to the church, started by Jesus? Yeah. First, let's look at the story. The film has a really clever, thick, complex and constructive plot, which also has great continuity with the other X-Men films and greatly adds to it as a really constructive prequel. First, as an overview. People often criticize films like X3 for being too unconventional, yet Wolverine gets hated for exactly the opposite reason. People hate on it for being a cliché revenge story and tragic romance story. Captain Logan complains it is a typical revenge story also, but really the same can be said about Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2 and Speed, The Matrix, all borrowed from other films very heavily. So am I actually saying that the ancient and unanimously agreed on rule that originality is very important and unoriginality is horrible, that rule is wrong? Well, I don't want to. Yeah, yes, yeah, da, oui, si, oh. Well, even I think that is racist. But yeah, it is an old and meaningless rule. Why? Well, because 1, nobody uses it consistently. Paying homage to older films is considered great, and therefore people use the argument that you need to build on the basis of an homage with your own original material. Or according to CM, you just have to add one original twist. That is why people praise films like T1 and T2 and The Dark Knight or Pulp Fiction. Or you need to tell it in a new way. Okay, and that is why Titanic and Kill Bill... No. That doesn't work either. No. People who value these arguments are still consistent with them because, well, I mentioned The Matrix, but the CM and NC both were underwhelmed by it. Let's just look at other films. Matthew praised Cars, mentioning its complete lack of originality as a detraction, but still calling it good, just for how well written it was, aside from the originality, not finding the originality to go that much to the core. And then C liked Up, a story mainly focused on the idea don't live in the past. And that is very old. That movie did live in the past. And to those saying that is a horrible joke, you have a point. Spider-Man 2 was Romeo and Juliet, and the original twist it did had, it took from episode 2. I just earned myself another $10 off the Jump the Shark Club. Dulcie praised Moulin Rouge for the original twist of the characters knowing what story they are in. Yeah, that was also Unbreakable a year early, but he probably didn't get that as he understands little of superhero films, and he probably never saw Romancing the Stone, which was about that, and The Game, which was about the rules, movies, and stories lay out for the audience. And A Fistful of Dollars, I mean, I Saw You Yimbo, American Gangster, Fight Club, The Social Network. There are a lot of films like this that are really popular, that everyone loves, that I love, that are great, that were just accepted for complexity and for depth, but not for original complexity or depth. And 2, the reason it isn't used consistently is because it is a strawman, something that is great can be enjoyed many times. Why do we eat many of the same pizzas? Why do we re-watch movies in the first place? The core of a film is focus, to have everything add together to a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, and to be deep and complex and make sense. Originality is a virtue and so is paying homage, so the best thing is to have a balance and build with freshness on old elements, and if something is completely derivative, that is less, but both of this is still of secondary importance, and also the film had a lot of original elements, like the violent warriors like Victor are given humanity and made really understandable and are given understandable reasons. In that sense, it's a lot deeper than most typical war movies. Wolverine was already flawed as a kid, and actually is somewhat capable of still being kind as an adult and never goes too far. So he doesn't just start off as a nice kid and then becomes a purely evil adult, and his seductive lover is also made nice and understandable. And Wolverine actually learns not to take revenge and overcomes some of his problems, but he still loses a lot. And also, to anyone complaining about lines like "we didn't sign up for this," the Dark Knight trilogy could be just as derivative. And in fact, Saving Private Ryan contained a whole lot more workless stage. And yes, I'm aware of my actions. I am hiding in a place where no one can find me. No, it's not in the Vatican. That would be too obvious, that would be stupid. Also, many people criticize films just for having bored elements, even when they do add new twists. And, oh, by the way, you can't get me here, I have asylum. Also, to all of you saying that this is starting to feel like a trailer for the fans of The Abyss, Cars, and the Star Wars prequels, and to those saying this is obviously specific, you can have a point. And even my fails are lackluster. I hate my life.